Hi gents, we're going to have a quick look here at question 15. This is the little exercise that I told you to do on quadratics. So it's just a good revision now before we give you your assessment. So let's just have a quick little look at it. It says here f of x, just meaning y if you want, is equal to 2x squared plus x minus 6, and we're told that f of x or y is 0. Okay, so one way you can write that, you can think of it in loads of ways, is to say that this thing is 0. Why? Because it says f of x is 0, and f of x is this thing. So if f of x is 0, then this thing is 0, okay, obviously. So it's just a regular quadratic. I would expect to be able to factorize it. X and x equals 0. And what you should do here is you should list to the side the numbers that multiply to give you this final number here. Okay, now I know it's minus 6, which means one of these numbers has to be plus and one of them has to be minus. And what you want to do is you want to place them in. We've done this loads, but anyway, just a reminder. You want to place them in such that you get your plus x here. We'll explain why that is in a second. So let's just, for instance, if we place in 1 and 6, we'll worry about the sign in a second. I'd get 1x here and I would get 12x here, and there's no way I'm getting a single x out of that when I add those two things together. Not happening. So it's not 1 and 6. It might be, you could go the other way around, 6 and 1. This would give 6x's and 2x's, and again, there's just no way I'm going to get a single x out of that. So we know that it's not 1 and 6. So it's going to be 2 and 3. So just to say here, because one's plus and one's minus, when you add them, what you really want is you want the difference of the two things to be plus x. Okay, so for instance, again, if you place in 2 and 3, here you would get 2x and you get 6x, and there's just no way you're getting a single x out of that. But if you do turn it around, our very last go, here we would get 3x and here we would get 4x, and although they don't add together to give plus x, the difference is 1. Okay, and remember we were saying because it's minus 6, one has to be plus and one has to be minus. So in this case, if we make it minus 3, that will be minus 3x, but plus 2, that'll be plus 4x, which will get us our single positive x. So that is what we want to go for. Now, just explain why that works. Okay, why is that thing the thing above it? Because when you multiply that by that, we get the 2x squared. That bit's easy. Now we do 2x by 2. So that gives us 4x. That's our little calculation that we did there. We then do minus 3 by x. That's minus 3x. And again, that's the calculation that we just did there. And finally, that by that, which is minus 6. So now what do we have? We've got our 2x squared, which we were meant to have. We've got plus x, which we also wanted. And we have minus 6, which we wanted. And the plus x was got, you can see here, by doing plus 4x by minus 3x, and that is exactly the little calculation that we were doing there. Okay, so that just shows you that we have the right factors, but it didn't say just factorize it, it said solve it. So we've got something equaling something, or something times something else equaling 0. So if you have two numbers multiplying to give you 0, one of them has to be 0. So we had 2x minus 3 is 0, or x plus 2 is 0. And easy to solve from here. Add 3 to both sides, divide both sides by 2. And subtract 2 from both sides. There you go. Those are our two answers. And I'll just show you what they look like. Like, what does this mean? What do those answers stand for? Well, it tells you, remember, what was our premise? Our premise was that y was 0. So what it's saying is that x is minus 2 when y is 0. So if you were to go and draw this thing out, okay, what that tells you is one of the points should be where x is minus 2 and y is 0. It's basically finding out where does it cross the x-axis, because y will always be 0 there. And we also know that x is also 3 over 2 when y is 0. Okay, so that's what it looks like, and these two numbers that you're getting, the minus 2 and the 1.5 there, they are telling you the solution or the place where it crosses the x-axis. Okay, what about this one here? X squared minus 6x plus 9 is 0. So again, just a regular old factorization. And you want things that multiply to give you 9. So it can only be 1 and 9 or 3 and 3. Now think of it, to get plus 9, they're either both plus, because a plus by a plus will give you plus 9, or they're both minus, because a minus by a minus would also give you plus 9. But if they were both pluses, the fact is that when we then go and add those two numbers, just like we did over on the left hand side, we're going to have to get minus 6. So it can't be that they're both positives, because if you add two positives together, you get a positive. But if you add two negatives together, you get a negative. How are we going to get minus 6 here? Well, clearly 3 and 3, because that's minus 3x, that's minus 3x, and we've got minus 6x out of it. So, okay. You'll notice that what's in the brackets is the exact same. So when you're saying x minus 3 equals 0, or the next or is going to be the exact same thing. So you can write it if you want to, but why waste ink? So we'll just add 3 to both sides and we get the only answer. The only answer is that x is 3 when y is 0. So I'll just show you what that one looks like. That one does that. It says that x is 3, x is 3 when y is 0. So this is the point 3, 0. So basically the quadratic comes down and it just hits in one place and one place only. That's why you only have one answer to the whole thing. Okay, I'll just give myself a little bit of space so we can do it for the next one. Okay, that's meant to hit precisely in one spot. So that is 3, 0. Okay, the last one that I asked you to do was h of x is 0. Well, h of x is x squared minus 2x. So if h of x is 0 and h of x is x squared minus 2x, then x squared minus 2x is 0 is our starting point. So the type factorization here is different to the one before. There aren't 3 terms, there are only 2. So this one is simply highest common factor. X divides into both things, and x divides into x squared to leave x, and into minus 2x to leave minus 2. We now have something times something else giving us 0. So x is 0 or x minus 2 is 0. Those are our two answers, x is 0 or x equals 2. Okay, and again, these are the solutions when y is 0. So what does this thing look like? Have a think about what it would look like. You weren't asked to draw it, but just want you to get an understanding of it. Okay, hopefully you have something like that in your mind. It crosses when x is 2 and it crosses when x is 0. And in fact, if you think of it, the fact that it goes through the origin, 0, 0, is inevitable whenever you have a quadratic that doesn't have like plus 1 in it or something like that. Because to go through the origin, it means that y is 0 when x is 0. And of course, the second you make x 0, in this case, 0 minus 0, that's 0, it instantly makes y 0. Whereas if you had plus 1, if you made x 0, now you'd have y as 1. So you get the point 0, 1. But if you don't have a number along with it, if you just got x's in there, the second you put in 0, y is destined to be 0. So you can be quite sure if there's no extra number on its own out there, it's going through the origin. Okay, a little handy thing to remember. And you know what, I'll just give you another one just to try here. I know this wasn't part of the question, but what if you have ix equals x squared minus 16 and you're asked solve I of x equals 0. What you're going to get here is you're going to get x squared minus 16 is equal to 0. And what type of factorization? So this time it's just x squared and a number. So have a little pause of the video, give a little shot of it, because the answer is going to come up now. The type of factorization is the difference of two squares. Something squared minus something squared. X fits in there and 4 fits in here. And we get x minus 4 times x plus 4. You can multiply that out just to make sure that that's correct. You get x squared plus 4x, but then immediately minus 4x. So the x's disappear. Minus 16 equals 0. So you just get x squared minus 16 is 0. So you know that you've done the factorization right. So what can we say here? We can say that this thing times that thing is 0. So x minus 4 is 0, or x plus 4 is 0. Add 4 to both sides on this one. X is 4. Subtract 4 from both sides. X is minus 4. And what does it look like? Well, this one is perfectly symmetrical around the axis. Never going to get it perfect, but that looks a little bit better. So we know that it crosses at minus 4 and 4. Okay, that's what that one would look like. Just to say, there is another way to go about that, which is fine by me. If you do want to say a little shortcut, x squared is equal to 16, but the problem is so many people here write x equals 4, and that is wrong. If you want to, it's one of those weird things, if you want to square root both sides, okay, square root x squared, x squared, that should be. Okay, if we want to square root that and square root this, that's no problem, but you have to take plus or minus the answer. You got to take plus or minus 4, not just 4. Why is that? Okay, what this question is asking is, what number, when multiplied by itself, gives you 16? And 4 multiplied by itself does give you 16, but so does minus 4. There are two answers. So you must remember to do plus or minus. Okay, that's the big rule if you're going to do that. And if you aren't, you know, if you think, I forget that one, just do it by the difference of 2 squares. You won't go wrong on that one. Okay, gents, I think we will stop it there. Hopefully you got those right, and hopefully you tried out the difference of 2 squares one as well. All the best. Take care.